Welcome to the Pro Revenge Short. I've got a nice story of revenge to share with you. So without further ado, here we go. I spent 10 years teaching at a high school in humanities at a small private school. For the first 2 years, I didn't have a classroom, just a small office. I would have to bring what I needed to each class, and I'd have to go from room to room, depending on which teacher had to prepare at any given time. This was incredibly inconvenient, and not being the most organized teacher, it made it very difficult to keep track of stuff. There was a group of 11th grade boys who decided to make it a little more difficult for me. They were good kids, we all got along. I coached several of them in school soccer, but they decided that since my office was often empty, it was a great place to prank. It was never anything too serious. Things falling over when I opened the door, things disappearing for a day, and then turning up at a different place the next day. Nothing was ever damaged, and I could never prove who it was, but I knew. My school had a mandatory final exam in each academic course. I didn't think they were necessary, so I would generally make them pretty easy, with a lot of preparation, and I would give out study sheets and play review games for a couple of weeks. There was no reason for any student to not do well on it. I had the approval of administration to do it this way, because they weren't really fond of the final exam either. It was just school board policy. A few nights before the offending boys had the exam, I had a brainwave. I created a second exam. Gone were the multiple choice questions and the obvious things from the review sheet. In their place was detailed questions about concepts that were briefly mentioned in the class. Essay question after essay question. Ambiguous questions with no clear answer. Definitions of words that there was no way they would know. It took a couple of hours, but I laughed the whole time. When the test came, I had the special exams at the bottom of the stack, and I handed them out to the boys. I told my vice principal what was going to happen, and he insisted on being there. So I started the timer, and I watched the boys flip over the papers. It was all I could do to keep a straight face. Their eyes went wide. Their heads were shaking. Panic was setting in, especially when they saw all the classmates flying through their exams. One of the boys raised his hand, but all I said was, "Sorry, no questions during the final. You should be prepared based on your study sheets." I let them go on for about 5 or 10 minutes, and their horror was growing, before I decided to end their suffering and gather all the fake tests and gave them the real ones. They all passed with flying colors, and they never pranked my office again. It was glorious. Thank you very much for joining me for this edition of Pro Revenge Shorts. I'll be back again tomorrow, so until then, this is Dallas signing off.